Two people can work equally hard for 10 years. One wakes up every morning and starts from zero. The other builds something that keeps working after the hour is gone. That difference is not motivation. It is leverage. Most people do not stay stuck because they are lazy. They stay stuck because every hour they work can only be sold once. You answer one email. You finish one task. You take one client call. You get paid once. Then tomorrow, you have to do it again. That is the quiet trap behind a lot of modern work. In this video, we are going to break down 4 types of leverage that quietly make people rich: labor, capital, code, and media. By the end, you will not just know what these 4 types are. You will know which one fits your current stage and which one might be too early. But here is the part most people miss. The best leverage to start with is not always the most powerful one. For most people, work is still a simple trade. Time goes in. Money comes out. If you want more money, you add more time. You work later. You take another project. You answer messages at night. You try to become more productive. And sometimes that helps, but only up to a point. Because time is linear. There are only so many hours you can work before your energy, attention, and health start pushing back. This is why a person can be hardworking, responsible, and intelligent, but still feel trapped. They are not building something that keeps working after the work is done. They are just restarting the same exchange every day. 1 hour, 1 task, 1 payment. So the better question is not, how can I work harder? The better question is, what can make my effort travel farther? That is where leverage comes in. Because once you understand leverage, you stop asking how to squeeze more out of your day, and you start asking how to make one good input create many outputs. Leverage is simple. It means using something outside yourself to multiply what you can do. Without leverage, your output depends mostly on your personal time and energy. With leverage, the same hour can create something that repeats, scales, or reaches more people. One decision can guide a team. A small amount of capital can move into an asset. A piece of software can run again and again. A video, article, or idea can reach people while you sleep. Leverage does not remove work. It changes the shape of work. Instead of doing the same thing manually forever, you start building systems, assets, and channels that carry your effort further. For this video, we will focus on 4 types: labor leverage, capital leverage, code leverage, media leverage. Each one can multiply results, but each one has a different cost, a different risk, and a different starting point. And this is where the order matters. If you choose the wrong leverage too early, it can make your life harder instead of easier. The first type is labor leverage. At its best, labor leverage means one person does not have to carry the entire machine alone. A company is labor leverage. A team is labor leverage. Hiring an assistant, a researcher, an editor, or an operator can also be labor leverage. The idea is simple. One person has a vision or a system. Other people help execute it. This can be powerful. A founder cannot personally build every product, answer every customer, write every line of copy, edit every video, and manage every detail forever. At some point, growth requires other people. But labor leverage has a hidden cost. People are not buttons. If your process lives only inside your head, hiring does not create freedom. It creates more translation, more correction, more places where the system can break. Imagine a small creator hiring an editor before having a clear script format, visual style, or revision checklist. The editor may be talented, but every video still becomes a long conversation. The creator explains the same thing again. The editor guesses. The first draft misses the direction. The creator spends the night fixing what was supposed to save time. That is not leverage yet. That is confusion moving through more hands. Labor leverage works best after the work is already somewhat repeatable. If you cannot explain the process, you are probably not ready to delegate it. This is where leverage becomes dangerous. It does not only amplify your strengths, it also amplifies your confusion. The second type is capital leverage. Capital lets you move faster. It can buy tools, time, talent, and attention. It can help you test ideas. It can help you survive while a project takes time to work. It can help you turn a small opportunity into something larger. This is why capital feels so powerful. But speed only helps if you are moving in the right direction. Capital is not a replacement for judgment. It is a multiplier of judgment. If the judgment is weak, the money only makes the mistake more expensive. If you buy ads for a weak product, you do not create a business. You just discover the weakness faster. If you invest in something you do not understand, the capital is not leverage. It is exposure. This video is not financial advice. The point is not that capital is bad. The point is that capital usually works best when it is amplifying something that is already clear, a useful skill, a real product, a working system, a trusted audience, or a proven demand. For ordinary people at the beginning, capital is often not the first card to play. Because before money can multiply your judgment, you need to build judgment. Before money can multiply your system, you need a system. Capital leverage looks like the fastest path to freedom, but for most people, it is not the first step. It is what comes after you have something worth amplifying. The third type is code leverage. This is where the modern world starts to become interesting. Code leverage means using software, automation, and now AI systems to repeat work without repeating the same human effort every time. In the past, this mostly belonged to programmers and software companies. If you could write code, you could build something once and let it run many times. A tool could serve one person, then 10 people, then 10,000 people, without requiring the creator to personally repeat the work each time. That was already powerful, but AI has changed the entry point. You still need judgment. You still need taste. You still need to understand the problem. But you no longer need to be a world-class engineer to start using software like leverage in your work. A marketer can turn campaign research into a reusable prompt system. A consultant can turn client onboarding into a template. A creator can turn every video into a repeatable production pipeline. A small business owner can turn common customer questions into a better knowledge base, a better email sequence, or a better internal checklist. The point is not to collect tools. The point is to find repeated work and turn it into a system. For example, imagine someone trying to build a small content business after work. Without code leverage, every video begins from zero. Find ideas. Collect notes. Draft the outline. Rewrite the script. Create the shot list. Prepare publishing assets. Track results. Everything is manual. Everything depends on mood and memory. With code leverage, parts of that process become a machine. Research goes into a database. Prompts turn notes into outlines. Templates shape scripts. Automation organizes files. AI helps turn abstract ideas into visual scenes. The person is still making decisions, but the machine is carrying more of the repetition. That is leverage, not magic, not passive income, not a shortcut around thinking, a way to make repeated work less dependent on raw willpower. And this is why AI changes the game. It gives ordinary people a small piece of what used to feel like software company leverage. The fourth type is media leverage. Media leverage means using content, distribution, and audience to make your ideas travel without you personally repeating them every time. Media can be a video, a newsletter, a guide, a course, or even a repeated public project. The format matters less than the principle. You create something once, and it can keep explaining, teaching, attracting, or building trust after you publish it. This is one of the most accessible forms of leverage today. Not because it is easy. It is not easy. Most content gets ignored. Most people quit before they improve. Attention is competitive, but media has one major advantage. You can start before you have employees. You can start before you have investors. You can start before you have a large business. If you can think clearly and communicate useful ideas, media allows your thinking to travel. This matters because many people have invisible value. They know how to solve problems. They have learned lessons. They understand tools. They see patterns in their industry. They can explain something that others find confusing. But if all of that stays inside their head, the market cannot see it. Media turns invisible ability into visible assets. A useful video can build trust. A clear article can attract opportunity. A simple framework can become a product. A repeated theme can become a brand. Media does not make you rich because views are magic. It creates trust at scale. And trust is what makes later offers easier to understand. This does not mean post anything and get rich. The point is that media lets one clear idea work many times. The most counterintuitive part of media leverage is this: you are not just publishing content. You are training the market to remember what problem you can solve. Now here is the mistake. When people hear the word leverage, they often imagine the biggest versions. Raising money, hiring a team, building a company, buying assets, managing people. But ordinary people should not always start with the biggest leverage. They should start with the most accessible leverage. The leverage they can practice now. The leverage that does not require a large bank account. The leverage that does not require managing a team. The leverage that can be built while they still have a job. For most people today, that means code leverage and media leverage. Code leverage helps you turn repeated work into systems. Media leverage helps you turn useful thinking into distribution and trust. Together, they create a powerful loop. You learn something. You systemize it. You explain it. You publish it. You get feedback. You improve the system. You create more useful output. Over time, this can create opportunities. Maybe a product. Maybe a service. Maybe a template. Maybe consulting. Maybe a community. Maybe simply better career options. No guarantee, no overnight transformation, but it is a more realistic path than waiting until you have capital, confidence, and a perfect business idea. Labor leverage can come later, when your workflow is clear enough for someone else to help. Capital leverage can come later, when you have better judgment and something real to amplify. The goal is not to chase the largest lever first. The goal is to find the smallest lever you can actually start pulling. So how do you apply this? Start with a simple checklist. First, what do you repeat every week? If you repeat it often, it may be a candidate for code leverage. Research, writing, planning, editing, organizing, client communication, data cleanup, idea capture. Do not ask, can AI do my whole job? Ask, which part of my work is repetitive enough to become a system? Second, what do you understand that other people find confusing? That may be a candidate for media leverage. Maybe you understand a tool. Maybe you understand a niche. Maybe you understand a customer problem. Maybe you have learned something the hard way. If you can explain it clearly, you can begin turning knowledge into an asset. Third, do you have a process clear enough for another person to follow? If yes, labor leverage may make sense later. If no, hiring help may only create more complexity. Fourth, do you have stable cash flow and good judgment around risk? If yes, capital leverage may become useful. If no, the priority is probably not to gamble with money. The priority is to build skills, systems, and judgment. And fifth, what is the smallest version you can start this week? Not a giant business, not a life-changing plan, not a perfect brand, a small system, one workflow you automate, one idea you publish, one template you reuse, one repeated task you stop doing manually. That is how leverage begins. You do not need to become an entrepreneur tomorrow. You just need to make one small part of your effort stop happening only once. So let's bring it back. There are 4 types of leverage that quietly make people rich. Labor leverage uses other people's time and skill. It is powerful, but it requires clear systems before it creates freedom. Capital leverage uses money and assets. It can move fast, but it also multiplies judgment, good or bad. Code leverage uses software, automation, and AI. It helps ordinary people turn repeated work into systems. Media leverage uses content and distribution. It helps useful ideas travel further than your personal time. If you are just starting, do not obsess over the biggest leverage. Start with the leverage you can actually build. For many people, that means code and media. Use AI to systemize your repeated work. Use media to make your thinking visible. Then, over time, labor and capital become easier to use responsibly. Because the real goal is not to work less tomorrow. The real goal is to stop making every result depend on the next hour of your life. If you want to understand how to find your first leverage point, you can follow this channel. I'm planning to make a simple leverage checklist that helps you look at your work, your skills, and your side project ideas more clearly. Until then, ask yourself one question. Which part of my effort could be multiplied instead of repeated?